Shalom. Call halal Yahweh by Shem Shai by Shem Brakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers that's doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners, among the heathens that look like the heathens, and to the Yakwaf that are listening and learning to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And this is going to be a two-part series because there's two video shorts that are on YouTube. One with what's this guy's name? With Bill Maher, and then this one with Ben Shapiro. And this one is called Ben Shapiro Smacks Down Black Lives Matter. It has nothing to do with race. And then someone put on a short of just this little, few second clip that you're about to see when he's snapping on this very effeminate man and this loudmouth, because Black Lives Matter does not represent the Israelite community. All right, Black Lives Matter represents the alphabet style community and black women. All right, it only really benefits a male if he's like him. All right, with his scarf twisted around his neck, almost looks like he probably wears his shirt twisted around in the front like a halter top as well. But Ben Shapiro's going to rattle off all these false statistics. First of all, this whole lie about us being 13% of the population, that's a complete that's propaganda and a lie. It's way more of us than that. That's a complete and total lie. And matter of fact, let me just load up some scriptures and let this thing play. Because, I'm a little bit angry when I heard it, because then I started reading the comments, and then all the racist white people are chiming in. And the reason that they think this way is because they all been fed so many lies about the Israelites here in America that they refer to as African American or black. All right, which make up the Southern Kingdom. All right, that portion of the Israelites that are here in America. But without any further ado, let's let it play.
Explain to me why black kids aren't graduating high school. Explain that one to me. Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder. Explain to me why the number of black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons, not for walking down the street and getting pulled into a prison, is so high. Explain, if it has nothing to do with culture, explain to me why the single motherhood rate in the black community jumped from 20% to 70% in the same course of time that the civil rights movement has made such tremendous strides. Is America more...
Okay, so there we go. In the same time, and he just gave the answer to why everything that he just said, all those conditions are conditions that they made. And no, there are plenty of blacks who've been pulled out the street, just walking down the street innocently and in jail. They get out of jail all the time. Almost every, this guy, when you look up research, you'll find out that the majority of the crimes that are being done, FBI statistics, are actually being done by white males. And the more dangerous crimes. Okay? But let me read a quick scripture. This is Isaiah 42:22, and it reads, "But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none restore." This was a condition that the Israelites were going to be in. It's not a lot of Shapiros that are locked up in prison. It's not a lot of Shapiros that are walking around with firearms, shooting each other down. It's not a lot of Shapiros that are in single parent homes. All that is true. But their forefathers and mothers are the ones who helped set up the programs and made it that way. You see, what he's not going to talk about is the fact that prior to the civil rights movement, the so-called blacks had their own neighborhoods. They had their own grocery stores, their own banks, their own movie houses, and all that. All these different neighborhoods across America, and these angry, jealous white people burned them and destroyed them and burned them down, flooded them out. Just look up and Google the flood towns. All right, and built lakes and luxury homes right over where these people and ride around on their boats, boating, right off their dock, right over the schoolhouse, the graveyard, the church, the bank, that black people used to hold commerce and business in. And there are dozens of these towns. It wasn't just Tulsa, Oklahoma. It wasn't just Bronzeville, well, what's now called Bronzeville, which was once referred to as the Black Belt here in Chicago. It wasn't just Elaine, Arkansas. It just wasn't Rosewood. Or those very well-to-do towns that were in the Carolinas. I can't remember the name of them. All right. This happened. So this has been clearly a system of systemic racism and hate, redlining, Jim Crow. All these things played into this. And then did not the music moguls, the Jewish music moguls own all these record companies that where they listen to this music that conditions their mind to chase the dollar, to gang bang, to shoot up, their own brother. All music is, and this is what they push. Quite honestly, this is what they push. The wholesome, I wouldn't say wholesome, but when you listen to hip hop going back to the late 80s into the 90s, gangster rap didn't have a total foothold, NWA was pushed out for that. All right. They were used for that. And it spiraled out of control from that point, because that became very, very popular. Most rap before that were telling stories of their struggle. All right. And then all of a sudden it changed. And it changed to the glorify the dollar, glorify the gold chain, glorify the car, glorify the gun, glorify the hoes. And the girls were pushed in the same way. It made whoredom acceptable, because in these songs, not only was it exploiting the violence, but it also exploited sexuality. It made promiscuity, because all those music do, they push being promiscuous, and they preach adultery, and they teach violence against thy brother. And those are part of the curses, man. All right, and those curses, the Israelite were gonna wear them like a coat. Matter of fact, let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 44. And it reads, and he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. And he shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Well, most of the lending organizations are owned by, Shapiro's people. The banks are owned by Shapiro's people. And he talks about the poverty, and and then he gives these false statistics of crime when that's a complete and total racist, hateful lie. This was complete, and this is what you saw me do a video a couple days ago talking about loaded questions and loaded statements. That's all he did, was he used loaded statements and loaded questions. That's what he was doing. And those statistics that he was using weren't true at all. But let me go back to this scripture. Let me finish it. It says, and moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So there's a lot of things that he was complaining about. These were the conditions, all right, that were promised that the Israelites would be in, that the Lord said that they would be in. They wouldn't be prosperous. They wouldn't be well-to-do in the societies that they're in. All right? They would be on the bottom. They would be the tail. Okay? It talks about thy eye being evil toward thy brother. That thus the gangbanger. And not only that, another history about the gangbanger that they don't bring out is the fact that that the gangs in the beginning in America, the so-called black and Hispanic gangs, when they first formed, they were formed to protect their neighborhoods from marauding white guys who would come in with shotguns, bats, and pickup trucks, beat up people in the neighborhood snatch up girls to take them to the forest preserves and gang rape them and things of that nature. And then not go to jail or get in trouble for it. All right? This is just the God honest truth. But, you know, Mr. Shapiro won't talk about those things. Here's a quick clip. Let me see if I can pull it up. With Bill Maher. It's with a great lesson on slavery. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Let's see. Hope this is it.
You have these woke revolutions. It requires all of us
revolution,
at some point to say, no, not going to do this.
So, and it basically, you see this, everything is anti the truth. Oh, wow. Well, I don't know, because that clearly, this clip.
The Sumerians, the Egyptians. Everybody who could afford one had a slave.
There we go.
And back then were generally atrocious. Everybody who could afford one had a slave, including people of color. The way people talk about slavery these days, you'd think...
And see, I'm going to just stop it right there, including people of color. All right, so basically, what he really just admitted, he's right. People in America. So who could afford a slave in America? We have to ask yourself. The Huguenots, the Moors, the Morenos, the cryptic Jews who came over to the Americas first and actually helped set up the colonies in the first place. All right, and where were they getting slaves from? Off the west coast of Africa. Let's this is the book From Babylon to Timbuktu. All right. No, we're trying to speedily go through this. All right. And it's the history of the ancient black races, including the black Hebrews. Well, you know, it just was the Hebrews. It was a redundant statement to call them the black. All right. But here on page 84, it gives you this tidbit of history from this scholar here. It says, and all his references are in here as well. So if anyone wants to challenge it, but it says, in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem in 70 AD. General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter during the period of the military governors of Palestine. Many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people, the residue of the Israelites. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it was estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Judite slaves. I'm not going to say the ish word, all right? Because that's the ishes are his people. The Judites were the actual Hebrews. And millions of them fled into Africa. And they ended up living in all those different towns and kingdoms along the Niger River. Start with Mali all the way into the, to the ocean, to the western portion of Africa. So those were the black people, so-called, that were being snatched up by the the Hamites, the Canaanites, the other black people that were in Africa. And they always tried to ignore this very important portion of history. Okay? Now, granted, some of our own people did sell us up the river and did sell us out. Same thing here in America with the natives, who were also our people. The natives enslaved some of the other natives, and they also enslaved some of the Negroes. And some of the Negroes here, so-called, also enslaved natives. Those were part of the curses. But here on page, in this book, I'm going to start on 125, page 125. All right. and just read down. Then I'm gonna hit up a few scriptures. Okay. And it reads. Nah, it doesn't wanna. Come on, man. Ain't number Satan. There we go. It says, Senegal was discovered by the Portuguese in the 15th century, and first settlements believed to have been black Portuguese, and Gambia River was discovered by the Portuguese in the 15th century. Sierra Leone first visited by the Portuguese in 1462, discovered by the Portuguese in 1446. The island of San Tome discovered by Portuguese, and the new inhabitants were black Jews deported here in 1484. Black Jews migrated to Angola from the San Tome zone between 1484 and 1499. White Portuguese missionaries reached Angola by 1560, but white settlers did not establish community until 1575. All right, so I mean, this book is just full of. Matter of fact, let me jump down to the last paragraph. It says, the King Manuel of Portugal in 1496 banished the Jews from Portugal. All Jews were to be out of Portugal by October 1497. Well, what had just happened? 1492, Christopher Columbus had sailed, and the Morenos, the Jews, the Moors, all right, because when you look up the word Moreno on the online oxforddictionary.com, you look up the word Moreno, it's going to tell you that there was a Moor, a Jew from Portugal and Spain from the 1400s, 1600s. So why is this not taught? Those people, as they left Portugal and Spain, they went all into other parts of Europe and to the Americas, and they were referred to as Huguenots. Now, you'll hear about Huguenots, but what you don't know, when you hear about them coming to the Americas and setting up the colonies, you hear about these Huguenots and all their involvement, including Paul Revere. Paul Revere was a Huguenot. So guess what that makes Paul Revere? But what has his image been portrayed to, by us, to us? His image has been portrayed as a so-called white person. Okay? So many of these Huguenots, which was just another name for a so-called black Jew, Moreno, a Christian or more that was leaving Europe. They came over here, and that's why they were actually able to establish and live among the natives here in the America, because they were the same people and they knew it. As a matter of fact, in 1682 in Virginia, the Negro and the native were referred to as the same people. All right, by Virginia law, which is the place where the so-called white man in 1681 began calling himself white. Prior to that, they weren't referred to as white. That happened here. But let me read this page. It says right here, this is page 126 at the last paragraph. At this time, Jews became Christians out of fear of them, out of fear that they were known as secret Jews, practicing Judaism in the secret under the guise of Christianity. Some writers call the Jews nominal Christians, Jews who are Christians in name only, but practice Judaism in secret. Those were your crypto Jews. Those were your Huguenots, your Moors. In spite of all the prejudice against black Jews in Portugal, they excelled in all trade skills, professions, and businesses. This is how when they came to the Americas, they also became slavers. Okay? Just often to their own people, to the natives, and to the Israelites that were being brought from West Africa enslaved, all right, in slavery. Okay? It says, and that's that scripture, your eye shall be evil toward thy brother. The wealth of the Jews was tremendous. Portugal is a small country about the size of the state of Florida. Nevertheless, in 1610, the Jews alone worth 80,000 ducats. The Jews dominated commerce, export trade. So naturally, the black Jew would engage in commerce trading in many parts of Africa after they fled from Portugal. All right. So they had businesses going on there. Some of those businesses, they did deal in human cargo of their own people. But you best believe that that was still set up and pushed by Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. We can go to the book of Joel for that. Okay. This is Joel. Because, you know, they love people like this guy. And let me see if I can click back to Shapiro. They love to to control the narrative in on their platforms like this. And then they bring in, you know, this effeminate man and this loudmouth who shouldn't be talking, head not covered, alphabet lifestyle woman, you know, and who's not prepared to deal with a platform that's completely controlled by he and his people, meaning Mr. Ben Shapiro here, with all these loaded questions and this false data that they use, because everything that he said about crime, FBI statistics tell you otherwise. All right, I just did a video on that not long ago. The most of the violent crimes that are done in America are actually done by white males, point blank period. But for some reason, it always, you know, the face of it becomes so-called black males. So it does have everything to do with culture and race, and not just race, but racism. All right, but this is Joel, the 2nd chapter, and let me see. Wait a minute. This is Joel 3. Hold on. Yeah, it's the Joel, the 3rd chapter, and I'm about to wrap this up. And matter of fact, I just started 3 and 1. I'm gonna read to like verse 6. All right, because the point is in 6. All right, and it says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem." So the Lord is bringing, you know, the whole awakening, this great awakening that you heard up, and the guy was like, "Let's stop." Stop it already. They don't want us to wake up. They want us to stay asleep. They want you to remain a Negro, to remain a black, to remain a Indian, to remain a Hispanic. They don't want you to be the Israelites. Okay? And it says, "And I will gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." So World War III is being gathered simply for that fact. Little do they know, they think that it's all this political stuff that they got going on, and the Lord is gathering all those people to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is over there in Syria, that area, the land of Israel, that whole area right there. That's the valley of Jehoshaphat. Syria is right below Israel. All right, right above it. Okay, and it says, and then it says, "And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. They sold us for wine and musket guns." The Hamites were trading us for that. All right, and this was all set up by the so-called white man. Okay, who wants to wash his hands of it. So they weren't going into the interiors. Well, that's not true, because they were going in there with Hamites, with escorts. All right, but it says, "And yeah, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head, because ye have taken my silver and gold, and have carried away in your temples my goodly pleasant things." All right, and they did. They robbed the temples. But this is also talking about now. It says, "And the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians." See, so these Africans, Tyre and Zidon, were selling Israelites. So these dark Africans, these black Africans, were selling Hebrew Israelites, a different dark race of people, a different racial makeup. All right? "The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border." And they did. They removed us far from our borders and scattered us around the world. And here we are in their clutches. And the scriptures clearly says, "If a man stealeth a man, and he be found in his..." Matter of fact, let me get that. See if I can find that. And close this out. All right. Last one. I think that's Exodus 26 and 16. I think. Let me believe 26, 16, 18. Nope. No, it's in Exodus. No, is it Numbers? I'm about to find it. Just give me a second. Come on. Oh, it's 21 and 16. So this is Exodus 21 and 16. And it reads, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. Call hello, Yahweh Shalom Shai by Hashem Rakwak Wadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders. Shalom until next time. Kwam Yasharallah.